This is the 21st season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk about bass fishing. Good show yesterday. John Garrett on talking about his dominant Florida performance, which led to a Angler of the Year lead heading into the Bassmaster Classic next week in Fort Worth, Texas. Actually opened that show yesterday with Chris Zaldain talking about the Classic Crawfish Boil benefiting St. Jude and Cook's Children's Hospital. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area or surrounding areas, it's Monday before the Classic. So it's like 4 days before the Classic starts. It's at Texas Whiskey Ranch in Fort Worth, Texas. This is open to the public with all the proceeds benefiting St. Jude and Cook's Children. The Classic competitors will be there. It's kind of the last night that they get to blow off steam. It is a $150 ticket, strict 21 and over, but that covers the crawfish and beverages. And you get to hang out with the Classic guys. So it's a great event. You can find out more information for that and buy tickets, because you can't buy tickets at the door. You have to buy tickets if you're coming to this beforehand. It's some sort of like legal thing because there's like adult beverages there. I don't know how that works, but that's how it works. But classiccrawfishboil.com for more information on that. So big shout out to the Zaldains for putting that together and then including St. Jude and Cook's Children for the charity element of that. Got a good show for today. Last time we talked to Blake Capps, he was in studio. He had just won a brutally tough Grand Lake 2024 Bass Nation Championship. So Blake went into that tournament as a well-known, highly accomplished local regional angler. He had fished some Toyotas and things like that, but like not a world traveler. Really well known in Oklahoma. You don't want to mess with the caps. There's like a bunch of different caps that fish, but you don't want to mess with the caps on like Grand, Eufaula, 10 Killer. I don't know if you guys have seen the Elite Series schedule coming up this year. You really don't want to mess with caps on 10. I think the only saving grace for some of the guys may be the Alabama rig is not in play, but Blake knows that place like the back of his hand. So long story short, he goes in, wins that event on a spinnerbait, gets the trophy, gets 50 grand, is working a full-time job. Now he's on the Elite Series. He's in the Bassmaster Classic. All of his dreams are true. He quits his job, and he just got back from like a 4-week bender where he fished 4 tournaments in 4 weeks, including back-to-back Florida events, and now he's a full-time professional angler. So we're like, dude, let's bring you back in and talk about the last month, because that's had to be quite the whirlwind. Like, did I do a good job on that intro? Was that basically how it all went in like a month?
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it. Thanks for having me on, Matt, too.
Did I leave any lakes out? What would you say your top 5 Oklahoma lakes are? Like if you were, because you got second in the.
Yeah, and being from Muskogee, that it's only like 6 minutes from my house, the boat ramp.
You're a glutton for punishment on that place. Like you have a 50% chance of either getting stranded or losing your lower unit. If it's not like perfect, the thing fishes like crap. If you take out a Three Forks, the only fish that lives in the system is 3 locks away.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough fishery 95% of the time.
Arkansas River out of Three Forks, if you were to fun fish it, if you were to pick 1 week ideal conditions out of the entire year, like what is the best week to go say, I'm going to go catch some river bass?
Probably the end of April, 1st of May. They start getting up there, spawning and stuff, and you take a spinnerbait or flip around. I mean, everything's on the bank and they haven't really been messed with, and man, I've had a lot of fun that time of year.
Have you ever been stranded overnight on the Arkansas? Like, what's the worst stuck you've ever been on the Arkansas River?
Me and my brother, we went, it was in it was like early April. we were running through some stuff that to get into this area, you have to run this flat to get across it. Well, there was it changed from the previous year. And normally we'll get out there and the first of the year, we'll wait around and make sure we can still run stuff. But
say that again, like explain what that means for those who are like guys that live in like South Carolina.
Yeah. So these sandbars, they move around, and we'll literally, we'll beach the boat and we'll jump out in the water and we'll just walk around to make sure like where's knee deep compared to ankle deep, and try to get a good lineup, because a lot of this, there's so much sand you have to run across these flats or you get stuck. Well, this spot we've been to quite a few times, and we said, heck with it, we're running. We didn't check it. And that sandbar completely changed that winter, like by probably 30-foot difference on like where the deep spot was. And we got sure enough stuck. I mean, it was bad enough that like the front end of the boat was sticking up. And like when we were running, we looked down, you could like just see bottom. We said, yeah, this ain't good. So we just pinned it to the floor and was hoping we could still make it, but no, we didn't. And there was during the week, there was no one out there. So I had to call some buddies, and I forget how long this rope was. I think 100 foot, and it wasn't even long enough to get to us. So we had to go call another buddy to bring another rope. It took 2 boats to pull us off this sandbar. But yeah, it was dark by the time we got off of it. And it was, kind of like it is right now at home. The days are nice, but then once it starts getting dark, it gets cold again. And we was in shorts and stuff and been pushing that plane in the water, and I said, man, we're gonna freeze out here. But yeah, I'll send you some pictures of it. It's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, it is. I'm trying to pull up this video here. This was the 2020 Open on the Arkansas River. And this was like my first year full fishing the Open. So I was like gung ho about it. Right.
Yeah.
And on day 2, I fished for 30 minutes and was stuck for like, I tried to get into this place, and unfortunately I got in, and it like did not go well. Like you could see here, like I'm pushing, I'm trying to get in. Now I'm trying to get out.
I got a good idea where that's at too.
Now look, now I'm in the water. So this is where I had checked with the tournament director to where I could get in the water to get out of the area, but I couldn't get out of the boat to get in the area. So now I'm trying to get this sucker out. My motor was overheating. I like ended up like totally giving up on it.
Yeah, it's
and the ironic part was, if I had just fished the stuff I didn't have to get into right there, like I caught 4 in the 30 minutes.
Really?
And had blown it out. Like it was completely blown out. But yeah, the Arkansas River, it's an interesting place.
Yeah, it's
is Florida interesting? I know you just got back from the back-to-back Elite Series. So walk us through it. Like walk us through going down to Florida, the meeting, the guys, the whole thing to your first Elite Series cast.
Yeah, so I went down like a week early, and my dad went with me, so that was really cool. So we got to, go through all that. And so we went down a week early, and we went lake hopping. We went fish a bunch of lakes around Okeechobee and St. John's. And that was a blast. Like the fishing on some of those smaller lakes, that was some of the most fun I've ever had. And I think like 3 of the 5 lakes that we went to, we had over 20 pounds on. And so that gave me some confidence going into the events. But I don't think nothing in Florida can prepare you for the St. Johns River, though. That was a big one. I didn't realize how big the St. Johns was. Like, you see things on the map and you read about it and watch the shows, but they can't put in words how big that place is and how spread out you can get on it. And then you throw the tide on top of that. So the St. Johns, I was more excited for St. John's and Okeechobee, but when it was said and done, I really enjoyed Okeechobee a lot more than the St. John's. Kind of funny how that worked out. But yeah, Florida, that's something that's just hard to explain that you haven't seen it, because we don't have grass compared to anything like that. And so, and you go to Florida and see all that different types of grass. I was out there Googling and practiced what or me and Dad was out there trying to figure out what certain grass was, what I was looking
So
at.
you go on a lake and you like take a picture of it and see if you can figure out what it was.
Yeah.
Because
I
you
was
heard
like,
oh, they live on mother-in-law tongue or arrowheads, whatever the proper way to call it is now. I have done the exact same thing down there. It is so overwhelming.
Yeah. It definitely is. But that was the weird thing for me as well.
Oh yeah, you had to deal with tide.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So your first Elite Series event was a place they've been to 6 times before. So everybody knows what's up.
Yeah.
It's also a tidal fishery, which I'm not sure if you are aware of this or not, but there's not many tidal fisheries in Oklahoma. Had you ever fished a tidal fishery before?
Never fished a tide.
Never been on a tide fishery before. Then you've got, so like in Oklahoma, we have a couple smaller lakes with hydrilla and milfoil. There's some ponds with like pondweed in it.
Yeah.
And then there's water willow. Is that it? Am I missing any vegetation?
There's lily pads on some places, very like on the river, but that's very limited.
Yeah.
Our lily pads may grow maybe to 3 foot, when St. John's.
No grass.
There's lily pads growing out in 8 foot around the whole main river. There's lily pads everywhere on the St. John's.
So you have the river with the current, and then throw in that vegetation, and then throw in that's your first Elite Series event ever.
Yeah, it was nuts, really. And the St. John's, I wish I could go back, but because I had a terrible finish in it.
Oh, I have a feeling you might.
It's that first day, because I had a pretty tough practice. I think it was on day 2. I did catch like a 7-pounder in practice, and then it led me down a rabbit hole that I went 4 hours after that without getting another bite when I thought I may have figured something out. And anyways, I just never really got on anything. I got into an area that I thought I could catch some fish and catch a limit at. And so that's where I, fished on day 1. And I had a limit. And I lost one. I broke off on one. It got me in a log. And once I got him out, then it broke me off. It could have been a grinnell, though, for all that I know. I didn't see it. And, day 1 wasn't too bad. Well, then day 2 came around, and my morning on day 1 was pretty slow, so I kind of changed it up a little bit and started on a different spot. And man, it was like my first 5-10 minutes. I hook up with with one on a jerkbait, the only jerkbait fish I had all week. And it was like a 5 or 6 pounder, and he came up rolling out the boat, and he popped off. And I got all this stuff on GoPro footage too, so I'll sit back and rewatch it too and get mad. But it's like, all right, whatever. So then I went to my primary area and got no bites. I said, all right, well, it just kind of kept rolling. And then happened to run into my buddy Luke Palmer, who I'm traveling with. And it was like noon, and he already had like 17, 18 pounds. Things were just going good for him. And I was like, golly, well, changed areas again, and I proceeded to lose another fish. And man, that was the first time in my life, in my fishing career, that I actually felt pressure, like
really?
And negative thoughts going to my mind and stuff. And it just I just kind of, then I hooked another fish and I lost it. So it was one of those deals. I hooked up with like 5 different fish, had them out of the water, and then they just came off. Just one of those days, my second day on the Elites, and man, I was just mad pretty much. And so that was good. I needed that too, because then, after that day, I kind of told myself, man, I'm not going to stress out like that again, because I was rushing things. And so then I went into Okeechobee, and I said, man, if I catch a 30-pound bag, that's awesome. I said, if I blank, that's fine too. So I'm just going to enjoy it and not stress out like I did on day 2. And that was, like I said, that day 2 was St. John's, that bad day. That was one of the best things that could have happened, because Okeechobee, I didn't finish quite where I wanted to. I almost made the cut. I was close. I lost a fish that probably would have done it for me, but that's fine. But man, I really enjoyed Okeechobee, that one. That was a fun tournament. I enjoyed it. And there was one point I actually forgot I was even fishing the Elite. I was just doing my own thing and just fishing. You know what I mean there.
That first morning of the St. John's, Mercer's down there calling out. You got the music. You look over and you fish against Jason and Luke before and stuff, but there's Pollinix there, Swindle, all the guys. Like, what? You don't strike me as a guy, like I said this when you're in studio, who gets like really amped up, but like, were there nerves there? Did you remember vividly like that moment of getting in the water your first day before takeoff?
Oh yeah. I do. Cause I backed the boat off and just idling around and stuff. And I was like, man, this is really happening. And so then we had boat takeoff, and I forget what boat I was, but I was looking for the boat number, because you know how they do the opens and the elites the same way. They have a staging area, and they're calling boat numbers and trying to get everyone lined up before they go through takeoff. And I was like, man, who's the guy who's taking off in front of me? Like, I'm looking hard to, like, hopefully I know the guy, I know what boat he's in. And the boat in front of me was Mike Iaconelli. And I was like, oh, man.
There you go.
Yeah, I was like, I know that guy. So I was like, hey, that is awesome. I'm sitting there taking off and going right behind Mike Iaconelli, and they were, a big deal for this. It's like his 30th season or something like that, fishing professionally and hearing all that. And it's like, man, this is just it's just awesome. But for the most part, no, I haven't really got too starstruck with anyone. On Okeechobee, I was fishing in the area, and Okeechobee is, you can't really see who's in front of you because all the grass and reeds and stuff. Like, you'll see a random boat, but you can't really tell who it is. And I came around the corner, and it was Hackney who was sitting in front of me fishing.
Oh.
I said, well, I may want to get off this stretch.
Nice. I'm showing some of the pictures of I think that's probably what, your first or second morning there on.
Yeah, that was day one of Okeechobee.
So they threw a camera guy right in your boat with you?
Yeah. Yeah, so that was pretty cool to have.
Very nice.
They were biting that morning too on a swim jig. Actually, I caught them all on a swim jig both days.
Oh, that's Biffle's color, isn't it?
Yeah, no tinfoil.
That Biffle loved that. I don't know if he still throws it, but like, that's like the sneaky Oklahoma shad spawn swim jig and flipping color.
Absolutely. I love that color. I wish they made that in more different plastics and stuff.
Were you just throwing the Mobster swim jig?
Yep.
There you go.
I love that Mobster.
Dude, that's like a heck of a gallery for your second Elite Series event. Like, you got all sorts of stuff now. You got your sponsor stuff in there, all the baits, everyone's in the
Yeah, it worked out awesome.
How was the reception? So, in all honesty, a couple years ago, there was actually last year, there was a unique vibe between the veterans and a lot of the rookie class.
Yeah.
Any intimidation factor? Any of the vets come up and welcome you? I mean, like Ike, he's done the Bass Nation stuff before. Pollinix there at the Bass Nation. Summerall is a Bass Nation guy. Paul Mueller is like, there's a bunch of Bass Nation champions that are on the Elite Series right now.
Yeah. Will Davis Jr.,
oh yeah.
Tim Doobie, I got to hang out with him and Mark Mendez one night. That was really cool. Mark Mendez, he's an awesome. He's like a grandpa. You just sat around and listened to all the stories all night. So I enjoyed meeting him. But no, everyone that I've met, they have all been super nice to me, and they've all will sit there and talk and cut up with you. And no, I haven't met anyone that's been negative yet. And no, they just I think I've learned that most of them are just good old boys like the most of us who are just trying to make it too. And but yeah, no, they've all been awesome to me.
Did Hackney say anything to you when he saw you on the water? Like,
no, I didn't
growl at you, or you didn't even get that.
I didn't get close enough to let him growl at me. So
I got you. All right, we're gonna take our first break. When we come back, we're gonna look ahead to the next couple weeks because you got some big stuff coming up.
Yeah, some little tournament coming up.
Just a little club jackpot down in Fort Worth, Texas. So BTL on a Tuesday with the Bass Nation Champ Elite Series rookie Blake Capps. Will be back right after this. Pro Bass Adventures is reinventing Mexico bass fishing. With boats equipped with 12-inch Garmin units and LiveScope Plus, free loaner fishing rods, and no-cost airport transportation, Pro Bass Adventures is proudly putting you in the best position for success. Pro Bass Adventures has lodges on Lake Baccarat and Lake El Salto, Mexico's two best trophy largemouth bass lakes. Visit probassadventures.com or email probassadventures@gmail.com. The official Mexico fishing lodge of Bass Talk Live.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top Unarmed, Strike King.
Gear that just plain works. Cast after cast after cast. AFTCO. Any fish, any water.
All right, welcome back. BTL on a Tuesday chat with Blake Caps, who, with the win last October or November,
Yep.
On Grand Lake, also punched his ticket to the 2025 Bassmaster Classic, which is coming up in less than 2 weeks on Lake Ray Roberts down in Fort Worth, Dallas, Texas area. So I know that you fished the two elites, and then you went to a wild Toyota series that was on Sam Rayburn that saw like 50-mile-an-hour winds, and it was really tough. And then all of a sudden, everyone just decided to catch 25 and 30 pounds and catch 7 and 8 pounders.
Yeah.
And had a decent event there. And then you went straight from there to the Nichols on Grand, which is a rite of passage in Oklahoma tournament fishing. You fish the Nichols. Back in the day, you'd fish either then like the Skeeter or the Charger, and then everyone would fish Last Bass on Eufaula. And then whatever, smaller club trail, a Fisher's-a-Man, ABA, something. But that's like pretty much how it works in Oklahoma. Fair assessment?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
So I know it was tough on Grand for you guys, but here's my question. So during the Toyota, during the Nichols on Grand, did it ever cross your mind, holy cow, my next tournament is the capital THE Bassmaster Classic?
Yeah, it did, and it's been a busy last couple of weeks, jumping into the Toyota series on Rayburn, and the Nichols was kind of one of those things that we fished it just so we could make the championship in September. And it's like, heck, we're going to pay the money. I might as well fish. And I got like 3 hours of sleep that night. But anyways, besides that, so I didn't really, we just wanted to go have some fun anyways, and didn't think it was going to be that tough. But yeah, the Toyota series, I kind of looked at that as a little bit of a practice too for Texas, coming from Florida, getting kind of back in the groove of the Texas style of fishing, because Texas is different too. Love fishing Texas though. And yeah, I just, leading up to the Classic, I wanted to fish as much as I could, just, make sure my gears are ready and all that stuff. That makes sense, just more in tune with my stuff, or however in tune I can get with my equipment and all that, and make sure there's no issues, and just be ready to go for the Classic. And that's actually what I've been doing today and stuff. I've been starting to work on tackle and get ready for the Classic.
Were you able to get down there before cutoff at all?
Yeah, I got down there before cutoff, and I didn't do a whole lot of fishing because it didn't really do me too much good. I don't feel like fishing in December when we'll be tournament, in midway through March. And but man, I really liked the way that lake looked. Like I think there's gonna be some giant bags caught.
For your first Classic, do you feel like it's a fairly comfortable fishery for you as far as location from home, ability to go down and practice, like you said, how the lake looked? Like sometimes you go to these Classics and it's just like you fish out of water, for lack of a better word, for the Bass Nation guys. But I actually did like a interview with Bassmaster on some of my picks, and I'm like, dude, like, I mean, I think this is a classic that you have a number of factors that are in your favor on Ray Roberts.
Yeah, and that's what when I went down there and pre-fished, looked around. It sounds crazy, but it reminded me a lot of Lake Eufaula. So you had like a lot of clay and standing timbers. Then you'd go to one bay and it had a lot of rock in it, and it just kind of had that feel to it. And what little fishing I did do, I caught some fish, and but then there's some grass I found, so that's something we don't have. But the water clarity, it looked like a good color and stuff. So, man, like I'm really excited about this tournament, because I do think it fits the way that I like to fish.
Are you there to take it all in? Or are you there to win? Like, are you going to
No,
experience everything and enjoy it, or is this a business trip?
No, it's a business trip. I'm going to have some fun on the Night of Champions and all that stuff, and I'll enjoy it where I can. But it's definitely, Bass Nation Champs never won the Classic, and for that year, and so that's definitely something it's even crazy to even think or say, but. I mean, I'm in the race, so someone, there is that possibility. So I'm definitely going down there and going to try my best to win it. But yeah, I am going to try to enjoy it too, and not, stress myself that. I'm really glad I got to fish 2 elites before the Classic.
Whole family coming?
Yeah, yep. Got a bunch of friends coming down there, and I'm excited. Everyone says it's the coolest and most stressful week that I'll ever see. So.
Yeah. Hopefully
we'll follow
up
on that.
First of many.
Yeah, I hope so.
Do you have, this is an important question. Do you have your Night of Champions attire selected yet? Because that's a big night. Like, what are we going with? Are we going with blazer, slacks, suit, tuxedo, cowboy look? Like what?
Yeah, now we're going to go for cowboy. We're going for the cowboy look. I don't know about no tux and all that stuff. So I just got me some nice jeans and a sports jacket.
Starched?
And then some
are you a mid, or are you like a heavy starch guy? Like, do they stand up when you're?
I don't like it where your jeans can just stand up on their own.
Okay,
but then probably some sports coat and a cowboy hat. And that's probably gonna be it.
What material on the boot? Like, we going gator? We going ostrich? We going leather?
No, I got some black gator ones we're gonna wear.
Black? Ooh, I like that. Yeah,
white stitching.
Bolo tie or just open collar?
I think we're just gonna do just open collar.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, it's a wild week. I know the guys who talk about it who are not accustomed to it, just with the practice days and then multiple off days and then another practice day and then more off days and then the media, then you have to have your boat certain places and you do walkthroughs, and you have that it's really easy to get lost in it, and that it seems like it's an eternity. And then the second it's over, it feels like it was 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what everyone says.
And I got to relook at the schedule, because that schedule, that itinerary they sent out, it's confusing. They have us all over the place. So
yeah, there's been some guys who've made a run at it. I remember, and I'd have to look this off the top of my head, but I remember when Dale Hightower made the Classic.
Yeah.
I think he had a really strong first day on the Red River.
Was it the Red River? Was it the Louisiana Delta?
Louisiana Delta. Might have been the Louisiana Delta. Let's see. Yep, the New Orleans. Yeah, he finished in the top 15.
Yeah.
He was 15th place. That was the one that Kevin won and Aaron finished second.
I think Hightower was making that long run to Venice, if I remember right.
Yeah, so he was in 6th. I remember interviewing him. He was in 6th in that 2011 Bassmaster Classic after day 1, and had 15.9, and then was 13th after day 2 and ended up 15th. So, yeah. I mean, he's kind of a local river dude as well from Oklahoma who's had some success.
I think Paul Mueller, didn't he come in 3rd on Guntersville in the Classic?
Yeah, he had, I think, the biggest bag ever weighed in the Classic. I think that was the one that Randy Howell won, and he went and had like a 30-something pound sack on a chatterbait or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yep.
So I know there's been a few that's been close, but
how has the vibe been with bass too? What is it like working with bass? I know there's been a lot of controversy in the first two communication.
Yeah, there's been a lot of controversy. Like you really see all that stuff online, but the people behind the scenes, behind the stage working, those people are some of the nicest people that I've ever met. Like they are so friendly and helpful. And I'm not just saying that. That's just that's being truthful too. If you need anything, they try their best to help you out. And I don't know. It's like even my parents, they were talking about how nice everyone was. Like on takeoff, they're asking if they want to take, parents, they'll take our pictures and stuff. And they're just, I'm very happy with it so far.
When you came in before, you had some, I wouldn't say like title sponsorship. You worked with some companies and stuff, but I don't think you were, I don't think they were writing you 6-figure checks.
Yeah.
Prior to this win. Catching up to date, I know you're running a Booyah wrapped Phoenix. Talk about what that sponsor game was like from November through March, who stepped up and who you're working with in 2025.
Yeah, sponsors, that's something that people don't realize how tough it is to get nowadays because everything's so competitive and there's so many people trying to get them and whatnot. But Booyah or Pradco, the Yum, those guys, I've known them forever. And when I won, they were actually one of them in Phoenix, Gary Klaus, he called me the couple days after the win and stuff, but they were the first people to reach out to me and congratulate me and say, what do you need? What can we do to help you? And man, they've been awesome. Like Booyah, them guys over at Pradco, man, it's been a blessing to have them working with. It's, Chad, he's been trying to reach out to other people, to help me and put me in the right directions with people. And really without them, this year would have been even more difficult. So I'm very thankful and happy to have them as my title sponsor because, like I said, they've just been so good and trying to take care of me. And then Falcon, of course. But the new one, I'm running Pro Guide batteries. And,
sweet.
Yep. And so that's kind of the new one. And I have actually got to test those out. And, man, I'm a huge fan. So I'm running all lithium. That's new to me. And
dude, it took me like 3 years of being with Pro Guide. It had nothing to do with Pro Guide. I was terrified to go lithium cranking.
Yes. Well,
I was old school AGM.
I still do have an AGM cranker. I will say that.
Okay. So yeah.
But my accessories, like, all my locators, they're all on a lithium, and then my trolling, they're all on lithiums as well.
Yeah. No, I finally switched to all lithium about halfway through last year, and I've got the Pro Guide charger. And
yes, I got the new.
I've had no issues. It's nice. You can look at the app. You can tell what everything's doing. It's super easy to see each battery's hooked up different. And I suck at that stuff, Blake.
Yeah.
I was just give me 4 heavy AGMs, and I know they can't screw up over, but it is. I would imagine, especially down in Florida, with the lithiums and stuff where you're just covering water, that had to be a big advantage.
Yeah, I feel like it has to be. And, not as much weight in the back, so you're able to slide around some of the shallow waters a little easier. I don't know how much, but it has to. That's a big weight difference between. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, they've been awesome. So, on Okeechobee, for instance, I got to really test out, the cranking battery, especially. I had live oil pumps running, and you go to Florida, you may only start your motor once or twice a day. You don't really run around a whole lot, and at the end of the day, after 8 hours of fishing, go away and it cranked up and didn't even miss a beat. And then fast forward to Rayburn, I don't know how much I was covering on Rayburn, but I bet I was covering at least 10 miles on the trolling motor every day. Did
you get into those catfish?
Yeah, I caught some catfish. Yeah,
dude, that was bonkers.
Yeah,
when I was there for the Open, and then we had a cold front and they totally disappeared. But I'm talking 30 to 50 blue cats a day from 2 feet to 30 feet.
And they look a lot like a bass too. A lot of them.
The only time you can tell it's a catfish is when they miss it, and then you can see them snake down the way they swim. But in practice, I was like, I have found the holy grail. And then you'd go like 3 catfish and then a 3-pound bass. So then you're totally screwed because you had to go through the catfish. Never seen catfish are the most aggressive game fish. Right now, it's bizarre.
Me and my buddy who we were rooming together down in Rayburn, Eli Brummett, we were talking about that. I said, I got to throw at everything. I said, I thought I could tell the difference between a bass and a catfish, but I was same deal. They were mixed in right next to each other. It was pretty wild, but that Rayburn tournament was a lot of fun. But yeah, I covered a bunch of water on those trolling motors every day, and like I said, those pro guys, I was very impressed with the lithiums because they were only down to, I forget how low it was, but I went straight to the nickels the next day, and I didn't get to charge them for 3 hours and fished all day, and I didn't have any issues because my batteries did not get charged in the 3 hours that I was home, and I fished another tournament the next day and didn't have no issue with them. So yeah, those pro guides, I've really am impressed with the lithium so far.
I know from some of our conversations going into this year, like your I wouldn't say weakness, you're power fisherman, you're old school dude, like think Christie, Biffle, Terry Butcher. I'll even throw in a Jimmy Houston.
Yeah.
But I know that you had some I don't want to say anxiety. You wanted to get better at the scope, minnow, straight live scope because you know that there are going to be times and periods where that plays. Is that something that you spent a lot of time on? Is that something that you feel more comfortable with now, just after playing with it for a couple months?
Yeah, definitely. So like I never, I've always thought I was decent at live scoping, but I was always a guy like, the water's up in the bushes, I'm going to probably slide up in the bushes too. And the funny thing is Rayburn is up right now. Like, I don't know how much. I mean, there's 4 foot on a lot of these bushes right now. It's up in the trees. And like, I don't know how high it is, but there's a bunch of water on Rayburn right now. And I went into that tournament and going into pre-fishing, and I got my minnows out, I got my jerkbait, and I got my umbrella out, and I said, I'm not going to the bank. And that's what I did. And I actually put my scoping chair in the boat, and that's all I did. And day 1, I had, 22 and a half. And on day 2, I should have had around 25. I didn't even have 13 pounds to show for it. But
did you jump them off or just lose them? Or
yeah, it was just one of those days. I lost a monster on an A rig. It was another 7+, and then I had 2 on a minnow come off, and then 2 on a jerkbait. It was kind of a weird deal, but yeah. Other than that, I mean, day 1 I didn't lose nothing. Day 3 I didn't lose nothing, but that day 2 I dang sure did. But yeah, that was. That kind of, that was a confidence booster kind of going into the Classic too. That, I mean, because what people listen, I mean, Texas is probably one of the best states to live scope in. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why that is. I don't know, especially Rayburn. That's just a live scoping place. And to go fish a Toyota Series with some of the best scopers in that area and then come out with the top 25, like that was a huge confidence booster. And, I had a day 2 that would have really put me up there. Now I didn't have no 30-pound bag like half of the top 20 did the final day, but that gave me a lot of confidence going into the Classic because I don't know what Ray Roberts enough. I don't know if they're going to be floating around like they was at Rayburn or they're going to be on the bank spawning. So, but to have that confidence in my back pocket going in, I'm definitely going to check it just to keep it honest. But yeah, so I was actually pretty proud of myself to go to Rayburn. And I never got a single flipping stick out and didn't even mess with the bushes and stuff. And then I hear people, oh yeah, we got 20 pounds flipping in practice and stuff. I'm like, I don't care. I got to do my own thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's not something that you're looking to completely convert your style of fishing. It's just a tool that you want to have in your arsenal going forward as a full-time professional bass angler.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you look at Okeechobee where it should have been one flipping and pitching, and then you look at the guys on live and you're like, they're all using live scopes, and fishing a way that you don't really think of fishing Okeechobee for, or then John Garrett, on the St. John's deep cranking or throwing a crankbait. It's like live scope has just shown that there's so many different ways to catch them on lakes that traditionally, we may not fish for, I guess.
All right, last thing I want to talk about, and then I probably won't ask you about it again. There's already an article out on Bassmaster. It's been out for a month already that is pegging you as the runaway favorite as the rookie on Lake Tenkiller. Now, obviously, I don't think anyone will argue with the fact that you do not want to tangle with Jason Christie on a regular basis on Lake Tenkiller, regardless of the time of the year.
Absolutely.
Or the bite or whatever. Like Christie's you just don't want to mess with him on Tenkiller. But that being said, he has never fished a major tournament on Tenkiller, the one time that the Elite Series there and Carl Jacobson won, with another certified local in the event that has won a lot on Tenkiller. Are you already looking forward to that upcoming Elite Series? And it seems like something crazy that like the year you qualify, they're like, let's pick this little lake in Oklahoma.
Yeah. No, it is crazy because that I know. So tournament fishing wise, I've learned more on Tenkiller about techniques than I have any other lake. By far, I've spent more time on Tenkiller than I have I think I've spent more time on Tenkiller than any other lake in Oklahoma that I've ever fished. And that's truthful because I quit deer hunting years ago. I still love deer hunting. I just don't do it as much because I would always fish in the wintertime. And the only lake that I ever really fished in the wintertime is Tenkiller. And I just know that lake so well. So then your rookie season, then they go to the lake that you've spent so much time on. You're like, it's hard to not get excited about. The thing is, I don't fish a whole lot in June because it's a party lake is what it is. They have some fun on that lake in the summertime, and there's a lot of bluff walls on it who people don't know, and a bunch of big boats, and they run down it, and those big rollers hit one side, and they come right back at you, and then you're trying to fish offshore, and it feels like you're in a washing machine. And so it's really not fun to fish in June after 10 o'clock.
So is that a deal now with it on the schedule? Like you can't fish with your brother out there. You can't fish with your dad. Like, I mean,
anyone with previous knowledge. And
is that like a weird thing where you can't even talk about the lake with them? And it's just like that lake doesn't exist until after that tournament's over in the Caps family.
Yeah. And I absolutely hate it too.
Yeah.
Because, there's so much, controversial going on right now with people taking info and just being honest. I know so many people who fish Tenkiller and all the lakes around it. And, you just got to like make sure I'm shutting them down and not even mention it. Cause I don't need help on Tenkiller anyways.
Yeah.
I may after the tournament, man, but you know what I'm getting at. You got buddies who I think like you're going over there later or something like that.
But what did I open beforehand?
Absolutely.
So I'm going over to film with Tyler Berger on Breaking Down a Lake. So I opened the conversation before the show with, I know it's on your schedule. So like, that's how you have to start opening conversations with, like, you have to be like, don't say anything about Tenkiller. How's it going, man?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm serious.
It feels so weird saying that because you almost feel like a prick almost. But, people are trying to talk to you, and you're like, hey, just quit talking to me. Like,
yeah. Well, because especially if you don't know someone really well, or you got the rap boat now. A lot of people know you're on the Elite Series. Like you try to find common ground with people, right?
Yeah.
So like for a lot of fishing fans, like their common ground is Lake Tenkiller with you, or Grand Lake, which is great, or Eufaula, which is great. But when it's that lake that you can't talk about, it's like really hard. Like you said, I know a lot of guys struggle. I struggle with it in the opens a lot, some too, depending on what fisheries we're going to, because that's like your connecting link with that person.
Yes.
Like, hey man, I went out to well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a weird deal right now.
Yeah. And truthfully, you could care less on what they're telling you because you're going to go do what you're going to do anyways. But that makes me so nervous, just trying to tell people to, quit talking to me about stuff like that, or don't even bring anything up. So
Yeah, dude, I had a wild deal in one of the opens a couple years ago. So I pull up and I'm getting gas. I don't even remember which one it was at. And there's this old school guy next to me in a pickup truck getting gas. He's like, "You fishing that open that starts tomorrow?" And this is when you could practice the day before. And I said, "Yes, sir." No, I'll tell you when it was. It was on a Monday of practice. So the tournament started on Thursday. And he goes, "My buddy won that local jackpot yesterday out here." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I saw that took, 21 pounds to win. That's a good sack." He goes, "I know what and where they caught him on. You want a little tip?" And I said, "No, sir, I can't get any information. I'm not allowed to get any."
Yeah.
And I kid you not, this guy patted my boat, winked at me and said, "Good boy. I was just testing you."
Oh, wow.
I was like, what the heck? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Goodness. Yeah. That's funny
It's-
right there.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, like I said, you see the one, I think 99.999% of guys do it right. Yeah, there's awkward things to it, but that's part of the game. And one of the ways that I look at it is, if you want to be able to talk about those and stuff, you don't have to fish the Elite Series. You don't have to fish the BPT. You don't have to fish the Opens. Like, you're talking about 165 that are at the very top level right now, 167 on the Elite Series and the BPT. They're held to a higher standard. And yeah, it might be awkward, but I mean, like I said, it's your full-time job. It is what it is, and it comes with the territory. So it's part of the process. It'll always be a decision, but yeah, I know Jason's talked about it before. I mean, can you imagine being Jason Christie and having to go through multiple classics on Grand Lake and not being able to talk about it for years?
Goodness.
Like, when they announce it, it's off limits. So you're talking boat season, friends, all the local tournaments, everything. And like, you can't talk about Grand for 380 days.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's another thing. I didn't even fish any, which I didn't have time anyways.
Mhm.
I've always fished the winter jackpots on Tin Killer, and I could have fished them by myself, but I didn't want to really even do that, put myself in that situation, because you know how it is. You're going to go to weigh in and you see your buddies and stuff, and then I caught them. You're like, no, I got to stay away from that. I'm not even going to put myself in that position and even chance it, because I have an opportunity to do really well on that one. I feel like in June, just knowing the lake. I mean, I definitely have a home field advantage. Me and Jason, of course. But I mean, Luke, he fishes a some, but I think it's been a few years since he's been on Tin Killer.
Yeah.
But
I mean, ideal scenario, you win the Bass Nation Championship, you win the Bassmaster Classic, and you win 10 Killer on your home pond.
that'd be a good year. That'd be a good starter, anyways.
All right, dude, I'm gonna let you go. I know you've been exhausted. You've been on the road for 3.5 straight weeks, so thanks for jumping on BTO.
I appreciate it, man. And if you ever need anything, just give me a holler.
All right, we'll do. See you, Blake.
Thanks, man.
All right, that's Blake Caps. Yeah, he mentioned it. So I got a call from Tyler Berger, big online presence on YouTube, does a lot of informational stuff, a lot of videos, covers the pro tours and stuff. And he said, "Hey, I want to come down." And he's filming with some other guys in Oklahoma this week, but just kind of how you break down lakes. He said, take one that you're kind of familiar with, one you haven't been on in a couple of years. So we did a smaller lake yesterday. That video will come out later on his channel. I don't want to give it away, but it was a fairly stressful day. It was an interesting day on the water. And then today I wanted to go to a place that I hadn't been on in a couple years that had multiple species of bass and that, had really good mapping and stuff on it. So yeah, we're headed to 10 Killer. I haven't been out there in, like I said, a couple years and going in blind. So it'll be interesting to see. And then all that will be on his YouTube channel on a show coming up. So big shout out to Blake Caps. Tomorrow, if you listened to the Best on Tour this week show. So new show. Do want to talk about this real quick. New show that comes out. Big shout out to Best on Tour, my title sponsor for the Bassmaster Opens for the past 3 or 4 years. Kind of transitioning still. Actually get the boat wrap tomorrow. It's a pretty cool wrap. I don't think there's one out there that's like it now. Long story short, new show called Best on Tour this week. It's a recorded show that I do with Dave Rush, who I've covered the Bassmaster Elite Series with every single tournament from like 2010 through 2018. We would go cover it, do the live stuff, write articles. Anyway, he is the content creator in charge for Best on Tour, the weekly newsletter. You can sign up for him, bestontour.net. I know a lot of our listeners, a lot of BTL listeners already signed up for that. If you're not, go sign up for it. It's inside the industry stuff, fishing, stats, all sorts of cool stuff, completely free. Just goes to your email box once a week. But we're doing like a non-biased objective, which is saying the same thing twice, an objective show that just covers exactly what happened that week in the industry, on the water, in the tournaments, who won, weights, what they won on, and then what happened off the water in the bass fishing industry as well. And like I said, that comes out every week. So that dropped this morning. So every Tuesday, you guys can expect that along with additional BTL programming. So we talked about at the end of the Best on Tour show today, the 2025 class for the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. That is what tomorrow's show is about. Neil Paul is going to join us again to talk about the 3 inductees. We may have one of the inductees on the show, and there's also a 50% chance that Brandon Polinick, who is on the board of directors for the Hall of Fame, joins us. I know he's trying to get a bunch of stuff ready before he heads out on the next swing, working on the RV and stuff like that. So completely understandable if he's not able to make it. But then we're back live with Frank on Thursday. We will have a pre-classic show. It'll have all the details of where and when Frank will be at the Bassmaster Classic. I know we'll be at the Pradco booth on Saturday and Sunday. I know we'll be at the Bass Tank booth throughout that time. A number of different opportunities to meet the man, Frank Scalish, and get an autograph. And I think they're doing a giveaway at the Pradco booth this year with Uncle Frank, but I'm not sure what lure or what paint job it is. So, all right, I am headed to the lake. Really enjoyed that show. Blake seems like he's got a really good start, even though I'm sure it wasn't the finish that he wanted in the first event. Narrowly missed the top 50 cut on Lake Okeechobee, heading to the meat of the schedule where I expect him to really pick it up, start cashing some checks, and make a push at that 2026 Classic after he competes in the 2025 Classic. So don't forget the Classic Crawfish Boil, classiccrawfishboil.com. Monday before the Classic, Monday night, 21 and up, Texas Whiskey Ranch in Fort Worth. All the Classic guys are going to be there. $150 ticket. You have to buy it before you get to the door. Crawfish, beverages, live bands, straight up Texas stuff with a little bit of a Louisiana twist. So that's all we got. We'll talk to everybody same place, same time tomorrow. See ya.